Hi, and welcome to this video. Today I'll be demonstrating a little tool called i1LAB, which is based on a tool I had before, i1 but as this tool can do a lot more and can support newer devices, it's released under a new name. And I will show you what it looks like. This is my Mac screen with i1LAB just launched. Now, before we can do anything, we need to calibrate the i1 Pro. So just so you know, the i1 Pro 2 and 3 are supported in its normal and its plus version. And if you have any other device, this software will do absolutely nothing for you. But if you do have an i1 Pro 2 or 3 or 3 Plus, then you can use this tool to do some color analysis, which are pretty difficult to do with the standard software supplied by X-Rite. So let me first calibrate the i1 Pro. So it says here not calibrated, so I can't do anything useful until I calibrate. And the calibration is specific to the measure mode that you do. So let me first show you the complete new ambient light spot mode. So I'll calibrate the device. For that, the device needs to be on its white tile. So you need to move this one over so it's visible. Put the device on there and click OK. And then it will calibrate itself to the white tile that's in the base of the spectrophotometer. So that's done. And for an ambient light, we need to put the diffuser on. So that's supplied with your i1 Pro. If you ever wondered what that little thing is for, well, you put it on your device, you twist, and then you take the cap off, and there you have a little diffusion point here, which you can use to measure light, ambient light. So let me measure the ambient light I have here. I can do that by clicking on the button, and it takes a few seconds for it to measure it, and you can see I'm now getting a chart of the light that I'm filming this in, which is, as you can see, a tube light, because it has a lot of peaks in different wavelengths, which is not the most modern light to do this. I still have to replace it with some LED lights, so I get more consistent lighting, but I haven't got around to that. So to show you that it does show different lights, I have here a little LED spotlight, which I can of course set to normal light. And if I measure the color, then let me put the device on the table and use the button to measure instead of, that's the other option you have in this software. You can measure by clicking on either one of these two buttons or clicking on the device. So now I'll click on the button and I'll have LED light mostly. I'll do measure again. And then in red, you see here the LED light spectrum. So you can see this is LED light and the other one was tube light. And then we can switch this one also to do UV light. Let me do one more on the black one, just to show you that it can also show the UV light. I do measure. And now you can see the black curve shows a very high peak in the UV and then virtually nothing, although a little bit of the UV light, because that's, or TL light, tube light, because that's still in the studio and they didn't switch that off. So as you can see, you can measure your ambient light and get an analysis of that light and see if it's correct for what you're trying to do. Now, the other thing you can do is you can measure colors. So let me demonstrate that. I have to put the device on the white tile again and remove the diffuser. And I will switch here to a new mode that is not available on i1 but is new in i1LAB. It's dual reflectance spot mode. So then it uses both light sources in the spectrophotometer, which enables it to measure the effect of UV light on the specific color you're measuring. So let me demonstrate that. I'll first calibrate it again. Okay. And then I can choose here either a reference color, which is one of the standard references that is supplied by X-Ray, and I can choose a measuring mode. I can only do that because I've enabled dual reflectance spot mode, and 0 is the legacy mode. That would be the same as you get default if you switch on the machine, the spectrophotometer. Now let me do one with UV included, and I'll use the top, and I'll measure a piece of standard paper here. So this is the top measurement, and you can see it has a slightly blue color and is pretty bright. And I can do the same with UV excluded and do that at the bottom. And then you can see that the UV included, which is the black one, because you can see this one's black, this one's red. So the black chart corresponds to the top one and the red one to the bottom one. You can see that this paper has optical brighteners, so it has a response to UV light when it's present in a device. So when you measure, including UV, which is the red one, or excluding UV, which is the red curve, then you can see it doesn't give you a peak in the UV spectrum. But if you include the UV light, it does give you a peak, which is the black curve. So of course you can also do a delta E. So if I have something in a specific color, let me just grab something that is in a specific color. And if I put the device on there, and I can do this in any mode and observer angle that I choose, I can measure that color by clicking at the top. And I can compare that, for instance, by another color yellow that's on there. And measure again, and I can see there's a delta E of 8.5 in CIE 2000 and a 10.7 in 94 and a 9.2 in CMC standard. These are just different ways of calculating a delta E. In front you see the L star, A star, B star values of the color, and the angle is also supported, so you can also do this for a 10-degree angle, which will give you slightly different colors. If I do the same measurement, you can see the color changed a little bit because I'm adding an angle here, and you can see the color going slightly darker because I changed the angle from 0 to, or from 2 degrees to 8 degrees, which gives you less color, less luminance. So what else can we do? We can see the L star value and the AB values in this chart. So especially if a color is close to white, so let me scan at the top the white of the paper again. And let me compare that, for instance, to the white of my disk. Then you can see both of those are close to neutral white, but the paper that I measured first is actually more blue than white. So if I zoom in, which I can do with the AB zoom, you can see that the color B that I chose, so the disk is actually more yellow than the paper. So it has, the paper has when I exclude the UV, has an AB value that is close to 0. When I do the same measurement for the table, I can see that's more yellow, and that's exactly what I'm visually seeing. And you can also see on the video that this white is a little less white than this white, which is reflected here graphically, and here in AB chart, and also in luminance. So you can see the red one has a slightly lower luminance, which corresponds to the value of 91 instead of 93. So this gives you a pretty easy way to evaluate and analyze different color samples or illumination that you have, lighting that you have in your environment. We might be adding more features in this software because this is now using spectral data from the spectrophotometer, which allows us to do much more than i1 Delta E ever could. i1 Delta E, for those of you that haven't tried it, it's still on the App Store, but it only supports the i1 Pro 1 and 2, not the 3. And it only has a mode to do the 50 Delta E analysis and nothing else. So this gives you a lot more options to choose from and makes it basically just a more usable tool. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Oh, I'm thinking of one thing. If you have a problem connecting the software so you don't get a calibration option with not calibrated and the button enabled, then it could be that you have other software running that's also talking to the i1 Pro. So if you do, quit that application. So like i1 Profiler, quit that application and make sure that i1LAB is the only software running. And of course, connect your spectrophotometer through USB before you launch i1LAB because it will start to look for your device when it's launched. If you have any other questions or issues, feel free to contact me. If something doesn't work, also please contact me and don't just say it doesn't work on a review or something. I'll be happy to find any solution for any problems that you encounter. And I hope you find this tool useful. And I'd like to thank you for watching. Bye-bye.